What if I tell you quitting social media isn't gonna fix your brain? You've already tried and failed multiple times. I remember the first time I quit Instagram, I ended up scrolling through WhatsApp stories, which is just embarrassing. And that happens because there's this deeper unconscious void that you try to fill with consumption. And if you don't address the void, quitting is just like putting a bandage on a broken bone. So if your average screen time is 18 hours, in this video I'll be sharing the 4-step system that reduced my phone use exponentially with a scientific tool to end scrolling in 3 minutes. Hi, my name is Fasi, I'm a certified expert coach, and I've created this process called yogic discipline based on a 3,000-year-old theory to master productivity. So if that's something you'd like to dive deeper for free, you'll find the link in the description. The first and the most important step is to address the broken bone. Let's say you go to a medical and you ask for an aspirin for your headache. But the chemist responds with, "We don't have an aspirin right now. Here's a chocolate that will distract you from the pain." What would you do? You'd probably cuss the fuck out of him and leave, right? But that's exactly what you do as well. The reason why you consume endless content is to avoid a feeling. It can be a feeling of boredom, a feeling of loneliness, stress, anxiety, fear, depression, whatever. But because no one taught us how to process our emotions, the most accessible alternative we have is to distract ourselves on our phones, which is basically the same as eating a chocolate to distract yourself from a headache. So the first step becomes to fix your mental and emotional health. You can start with things like meditation, breath work, journaling, therapy if you can afford it, gratitude, yoga, etc. Really anything that will improve your mental and emotional health. And this step is important because if you don't address the cause, you'll always keep fighting its symptoms. And that's why whenever you quit, you keep going back because you haven't fixed the headache, you don't have an aspirin, and you just keep looking for more and different types of chocolates. Step 2 will allow you to effortlessly reduce your screen time. There was this wonderful study done in Stanford University on 2 groups of people trying to reduce their screen time. Group A tried the typical advice you'd find on YouTube. So they did things like app limits, willpowers, and digital detoxes. Everything you've heard as a good advice. But group 2 replaced consumption time with creation. So they did things like writing, art, coding, etc. Basically creative stuff. And after 6 months, the average screen time reduction of group A was 12% versus the average screen time reduction of group B was 73%. And what was most surprising was that while the people in group A were miserable trying to fight the urge to reduce the screen time, the people in group B weren't even trying. They were just creating more. So why does creation work when everything else fails? It's because your brain craves novelty, i.e. dopamine. And social media becomes this endless source of easy, unhealthy dopamine. But doing meaningful activities and creating stuff gives you that same dopamine but in a sustained, healthy fashion. And that does make sense. Think about the last time you binge Netflix for 8 hours and the feeling you got after it. And contrast that with the last time you did 2 hours of meaningful creative work and how did you feel after it. So find something meaningful and creative and replace your consumption time with that. It's proven to work by research. And if this holistic approach is resonating with you so far, don't forget to check out my entire productivity system for free. Here's how you can still use social media while unfucking your brain. Let me ask you this. Do you run fast? Now your answer might be yes or no, but if your answer was yes, let me follow up with, do you run fast as compared to Usain Bolt? And if your answer was no, let me follow up with, do you run fast with as compared to a tortoise? Now I asked this random ass question to establish that your brain lives in comparison. Your answer might be yes or no before, but as soon as I brought comparison in, your answer changed. So you might consider 2 hours of creative writing as boring, but it's because that your brain compares it to the 20 minutes of brain rot content that you scrolled through first thing in the morning. But here's how I use this tendency of our brains to compare things to my advantage. I organize my days such that there is no high stimulating activities in my days until I get done with the difficult things. I stopped using consumption as a way to fill every 2 seconds of free time that I have in my days. Instead, I started getting bored more. And also, I dedicate a specific time in my day, which is usually after I get done with the difficult stuff, when I am free to consume without guilt. And what this does is when I sit for my deep work early in the morning, there's nothing to contrast that deep work and call it as boring. So my brain starts finding that as enjoyable. And I've been doing this for 2 to 3 years, and I've recently realized that it's even a thing, and it's getting called dopamine loading. And it's the healthiest way I can still consume while being productive and not cooking my brain. So how do you fight this pull of social media in the morning? You don't. Here's the most powerful tool to break the scrolling habit. I learned this tool from the book Willpower Instinct, and let me ask you this. Have you ever felt hungry, but you didn't act on that hunger, and after a while, your hunger went away? Now, that is exactly how every urge works. Be it the urge to watch porn, be it the urge to scroll, be it the urge to do whatever. If you don't act on an urge, it comes up and it goes away as well. Your job here is not to fight it, nor to act on it, but rather to become a surfer. So the tool is literally called surfing the urge, and all you do is you stay present, you close your eyes and stay present with the urge and just accept that you're having it. A lot of people think that there are only two things you can do when you have an urge. You can either push it away using force and effort and willpower, or you can act on it or indulge on it. But science says, and spiritual leaders and teachers have been saying it since forever, that there's a middle way which is of mindfulness, where you don't act on it, where you don't push it away, you just sit with it until it comes up and goes away. Pro tip, if you want to experience this right now, pause this video, set a timer for 2 minutes and sit absolutely still like a statue. And what you'll notice is after, 30 seconds, 1 minute, you'll feel the urge to maybe move your shoulders or maybe itch or twitch. What you do is, that's an urge for you to move. What you do is you don't push away the urge, you don't act on it, but you just sit with it and surf that urge. And you'll notice that magically it first grows stronger, but then it goes away as well. So the next time you get an urge to consume and it's not ideal for you, instead of opening Instagram, open up your clock app, set up a timer for 2 minutes and just sit with that urge, accepting it and feeling it completely. And the more you practice this, the stronger your mindfulness becomes. And the more mindful you are, the more control you have over your actions. Now, if your rotten brain stops you from being productive and you need my professional help with it, click the link below and I'll help you with that. Also, this is the 3,000-year-old system that I keep mentioning. I call it yogic discipline. And if you'd like to become as productive as a yogi, you can click here.